Hello everyone and welcome back to another top 5. So for today's video we are going to be talking about 5 claims of physical evidence of reincarnation. Independent of the several religions that preach the existence of reincarnation, paranormal investigators routinely investigate incidents of old souls possibly reappearing in new bodies. The following stories haven't all exactly seen scientific scrutiny, and the related incidents haven't all been verified, but they contain unexplained evidence that might make even the skeptical mind pause. Number 5. Transferred birthmarks. In parts of Asia, tradition dictates that when a person dies, relatives will mark his or her body, often using soot, with the hope that the soul of the deceased will be reincarnated within the same family. The mark is said to become both a birthmark and evidence that the soul has been reborn. In one case, KH, a boy from Myanmar, was noted to have a birthmark on his left arm in the same place where his grandfather's body had been marked. His grandfather had died 11 months before KH's birth. Many people, including family members, saw the grandfather's mark made by a neighbor called charcoal of the underside of a pot. At just over 2 years old, KH called his grandmother Ma Tin Shui, a name only used by the deceased grandfather. The grandmother was called mother by her children, and De La or auntie by other children. KH called his mother War War Queen, just like his deceased grandfather had, rather than Ma Wa. When KH's mother was pregnant, she dreamed of her father saying, "I want to live with you." The birthmark in the child's name for his loved ones makes his family think the dream has come true. Number 4. Reincarnated handwriting. At age 6, Taranjit Singh was living in a Lunamiana village in India. The boy had been claiming since the age of 2 that his real name was Satnam Singh and that he was born in Chakchela village in Jalandhar, roughly 60 kilometers away. Taranjit allegedly recalled that he was a student of class 9, about 15 or 16 years old, and that his father's name was Jeet Singh. A man on a scooter had collided with Satnam, who was on a bike, and killed him on September 10, 1992. Taranjit said that the books he was carrying the day of the accident were soaked in his blood, and he had 30 rupees in his wallet. The child was so insistent and the story was so odd yet detailed that his father Ranjit decided to investigate. A teacher in Jalandhar told Ranjit that a boy named Satnam Singh really had died in an accident, and this boy's father was named Jeet Singh. Ranjit reached out to Satnam's family, who confirmed the blood-soaked books and repu details. When Taranjit and members of the Satnam's family met face to face, Taranjit was able to correctly identify Satnam in photos. Number 3. Memories of monasteries. In his book, Your Past Lives and the Healing Process, psychiatrist Adrian Finkelstein describes a boy named Robin Hull who often spoke in a language his mother couldn't understand. She contacted a professor of Asian languages who identified the language as a dialect spoken specifically in the northern region of Tibet. Robin said that he went to school many years ago in a monastery, and that is where he learned to speak that language. However, the truth was that Robin wasn't even of school-going age and had yet to set foot in a classroom. The professor investigated further based on Robin's descriptions and eventually settled on a monastery in the Kunlun Mountains that matched the information the young boy was able to relay. Robin's story inspired the professor to actually travel to Tibet, where he located the monastery. Finkelstein specializes in hypnosis and past life therapy. He has been on the staff of Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles and was the clinical assistant professor at UCLA. He currently has a private practice in Malibu, California. Number 2. The burned Japanese soldier. Another Stevenson investigation revolves around a Burmese girl named Ma Win-tar. Ma Win-tar was born in 1962, and at around age 3 she started referencing life as a Japanese soldier. The soldier had been captured by Burmese villagers and burned alive while tied to a tree. The specific life in her account was not identified, but as Stevenson points out, the circumstances were plausible. In 1945, Burmese villagers would capture any of the stragglers from the retreating Japanese army, and they sometimes burned soldiers alive. The oddest of all, Ma Win-tar had been born with severe birth defects in both hands. Her middle and ring fingers on the right hand were webbed and loosely attached to the wrist of her hand. They were amputated when she was only a few days old. Several other fingers were missing or had constriction rings. A ring on her left wrist had 3 separate depressions. There was also, according to her mother, a similar mark on her right wrist that had faded. The marks were eerily similar to that of a rope burn, something a Japanese soldier who had been burned alive while tied to a tree may have acquired during his ordeal. And number 1, the in-between state. Dr. Brian Weiss became involved with the past life regression through his involvement with a patient named Catherine. As illustrated in his book Many Lives, Many Masters, during a regression session, Catherine shocked Dr. Weise when she mentioned that she was in in-between state and that both Dr. Weise's father and his son were present. Catherine went on to say, "Your father is here and your son, who is a small child. Your father says you will know him because the name is Avram and your daughter is named after him. Also, his death was due to his heart. Your son's heart was also important, for it was backward, like a chicken's. He wanted to show you that medicine could only go so far, that its scope is very limited." Dr. Weise was shocked as his patient knew very little about his personal life. Photos of his living son Jordan as well as a daughter were on his desk, but Catherine seemed to be talking about Adam, the doctor's firstborn, who had died at only 23 days old. Adam had been diagnosed with total MLS pulmonary venous drainage with an atrial septal defect. The pulmonary veins had grown on the wrong side of the heart, effectively backward. Further, Dr. Weise's father went by Alvin, but his Hebrew name was Avram. Just as Catherine had suggested, Dr. Weise's daughter's Amy was indeed named for her grandfather. But that's all for today's video, guys. Remember to subscribe if you like this video, and please do watch my next video Saturday. But if you enjoyed, please do rate, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video.